Well, fond memories had. And for New York Giants fans, I'm not sure if it is fond memories had. Yesterday morning, the news coming that head coach Brian Daboll has indeed been fired, second head coach of this season. Obviously, Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans was fired earlier this season, but now it's Brian Daboll's turn, fired by the New York Giants after their defeat to the Chicago Bears 24-20, a game in which they were comfortably in front for a large portion of it and then got crashing out again a second time. There's been a sort of a dramatic crash out by the New York Giants this season. Obviously, the Denver Broncos game just a couple of weeks ago, the Broncos came back in the fourth quarter and beat them as well. Rumor has it there was a lot of talk in the building and on the way home that was going to be Daboll's last game. And instead, they changed their mind and said they'd stick with it. Instead, they've now got rid of him after this game. He joined in 2022, only reached the playoffs once, and that was in his first year. And when you look back at it, actually, a lot of that season was led by one Saquon Barkley, who is now obviously at the Philadelphia Eagles and had that's a crazy season last season. And we had a lot of head scratching of why he went away and Daniel Jones stuck around. But obviously, something's going right for Daniel Jones now being in Indianapolis and with Shane Steichen instead. He did win head coach of the year that year as well. But since then, it's been, no winning seasons. His actual 61 games, 20, 40, and 1 is his record. Adam, straight away, you said this was just ridiculous and such a stupid thing to do by the New York Giants. And do you believe it's a stupid thing to do now at this current point? Or is it just in general you think this is a bad move for the Giants?
I think it's a complete waste of time if you want to take it purely from this season. It's not going to make any difference at all. If anything, you could probably argue they'd have got a higher pick in next year's draft if they kept him. So, it clearly wasn't working, was it? So I think I don't see what the benefit is. It's a little bit like I didn't really see what the benefit of sacking Brian Callahan was at the Titans at the time. I think that I kind of have a mindset very much where if you're going to go into a season with the guy, there's no benefit you getting rid of him halfway through that season. It never ends well. It never suddenly turns around or anything becomes great. You might get an instant impact of like one game and then it all falls away again. So I just don't see what the point is. From a long-term point of view, I think they were stupid to keep him. If this was how short the leash was in their mind, from what I've read or seen, it seems very much like they didn't want to get rid of him. At no point did they really want to get rid of him, but they've kind of been put into a position where they feel that they have to, because it's just not worked, is it? They're 2-8 and they're really struggling, but it's just that thing where it's like the stupidity of it is just what is wrong with these teams? Like, genuinely tell me what is wrong with these teams. They have head coaches that are struggling the year before, and they go and get a rookie quarterback, and the rookie quarterback plays about 6 or 7 games, and then they sack the head coach, and they think that that's going to be all right. It works with certain quarterbacks. They can cope with it. It's not a problem. I think an obvious example is Drake May. He's done really well. They got rid of their coach last year and he's done well. But the countless number of others where it doesn't work, with the Justin Fields, with the Trevor Lawrences, with the Bryce Youngs, and it just brings their development back so much. And then they end up taking so much longer to get to where they need to go. And to a certain extent, sometimes they never get there because of it. And it's such a stupid thing to do. And then you've got the whole, we're going to keep the GM, and the GM's going to be in charge of bringing in the new head coach. And it's just like, yeah, that works really well, because now you're going to have a GM that's going to be under pressure, a brand new head coach. And if it doesn't work in the first year, what's the head coach going to go? Well, the GM gave me a load of rubbish. It's mental. It's a bad organization making bad decisions.
Because if we look at Miami, for example, a team that we've all been going, McDaniel's it's very soon that he's probably going to be out the door. They go and get rid of their GM, Chris Greer, only the other week's guy. And a lot of people have been, Brian Daboll. Is it Brian Daboll? Is it Joe Schoen? Why is it going wrong? He did so well the first year, etc., etc. The recruitment's not been great. It's been very hit and miss. I mean, Evan Neal, he's been an absolute disaster. They get rid of Saquon over Daniel Jones. Okay, Daniel Jones is doing well at the Colts, but that was a decision that rocked everybody last year when Saquon had such an incredible season. They get rid of Xavier. They let Xavier McKinney walk. He's been one of the top guys at Green Bay. I think that everyone around the league said that letting Xavier McKinney walk is probably going to be a mistake. They draft in Malik Neighbors, fantastic. They go and get Cam Scabu late down in the rounds out of nowhere, and that's Schoen's decision to do that with Brian Daboll's input. But then to defend Daboll, look at this season. Neighbors goes out for the year. An unavoidable injury. Cam Scabu, complete freak injury. Unavoidable. But then you look at the Jackson Dart stuff with what's it, 4 concussions he's had now this season? That's a scheme thing for me. That's a scheme thing that falls under the head coach jurisdiction. When we look at Giants in the big picture after these continual bad seasons since 2022 to 2025, is there more? Where's the blame really lie? Daboll or Schoen?
I think Schoen always gets a pass because you have contacts in the NFL, and obviously he was assistant on the Bills. And I think sometimes people do that. Whereas with Daboll, I think there's always been this lingering thing of, we know what the narrative's been, that 1 year that they made the playoffs, it was an easy schedule. Obviously Daniel Jones has now gone and done well at the Colts, but there's still question marks there. I just think that obviously, like, when you hear the news, you dig a bit deeper, and like Mike Kafka's now interim. He was under Andy Reid for a while at the Chiefs. We know Jackson Dart's been playing well. It just sort of stinks of like, we don't like him as our head coach anymore. Maybe, as anyone would do in these type of jobs, I'm sure it happens all the time. I'm not saying Schoen would have done this, but it's almost like, give me one more chance. Let's hire a new coach and see what happens, because there's good things in place. So really, between now and the end of the season, I mean, Kafka will be the guy, obviously, to develop Jackson Dart still, hopefully, if the concussion's not too serious. James Winston.
Just to slightly interrupt you, Kafka did also get interviewed in the offseason last year by Chicago and New Orleans for the head coaching.
Yeah,
so he has sort of entered that cycle of taking that.
It's not like an Antonio Pierce situation on the Raiders where like he was only going to get the Raiders job. You said that perfectly. Like, he's a guy who is known within circles. So maybe even the Giants are getting ahead of. Yeah, I can't remember what sort of protocols there are of, how when you have to interview within a certain window, but maybe even that's part of the thought process. Because if they don't get him, then I think realistically, it's going to end up being a defensive guy. I mean, you see Belichick and Spagnola's names there. That's just because of the Giants' affiliations of years gone by. But even a guy like Vance Joseph, he was 2 years, he didn't have the best record when he was Broncos head coach. But you see what he's doing with the weapons on the Broncos now. But yeah, maybe Kafka, this is his chance. But I have to go back to what Adam said at the beginning. I think in the NFL, it is silly to get rid of a coach halfway through. We think it's bad enough in football sometimes. When people get let go halfway, you just think you're throwing it away. And in a league where it only runs from September through to December for some who don't make the playoffs, I don't get why you would do it unless you are sort of grooming Kafka for that job.
Well, this is the sixth head coach since 2016, and this is sorry. I usually completely forget to write who to credit when I find these articles, but I'm going to credit Mark Prusin, who wrote this article, I believe, for CBS. The headline being, the past few seasons have been nothing short of disappointing. Giants president John Mara and chairman Steve Tisch released a joint statement. We spoke this morning about the direction of our franchise on the field, and we've decided at this time it is in our best interest to make a change at the head coaching position. The past few seasons have been nothing short of disappointing and have not met our expectations for this franchise. We understand the frustration of our fans, and we'll work to deliver a significantly improved product. We feel like General Manager Joe Schoen will remain and is heading up the search for a new head coach. The rest of Daboll's staff was kept in place. And Mara said, we feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent, and we look forward to its development. Unfortunately, results over the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results and look forward to the kind of success our fans expect. Well, you've not taken responsibility for it, have you? Because it starts from the top down, John Mara. This is the sixth head coach since 2016. you've let decisions happen that we all blatant as NFL fans, and us three are no NFL savants, believe you and me. That doesn't mean stop watching us or listening to us, because we do know what we're talking about. But it's pretty black and white to go, some of these decisions over the years have been poor. I'd have loved Andrew to have been on tonight, because I think as a Giants fan, he sees a lot of this perspective of it. But I do feel every time Andrew has brought the argument about the Giants stuff, he has seen it in a very positive pro light and tried to see the best of it. Unfortunately, us realists of this world have known this has gone from bad to worse. And there has been picks that they've made. Andrew Thomas was one at the time that didn't look like it was going to work out. Admittedly, it has worked out fantastically. But there has been several picks that have been terrible. The cornerback situation's never been really solved. They've picked the wrong players at the wrong times. They should have never extended Daniel Jones. We all knew that. But I feel like they were in a position after Eli. They didn't want to keep resetting, which a lot of franchises have done. And yes, it hasn't worked out. So I can understand a large section of that. They didn't want to be cash strapped with Saquon Barkley. Understandable. But then when you see him go and do what he did for the Eagles last year, yes, he's not having a great season this year, but you're still going to call him a top 5 running back in this league. You've got to. And then you look at the results this year. Big injuries to key guys. Scatterboo, Dart consistently. You don't even start Dart at the start of the season either. You start Wilson, and then it's like, oh, maybe we're going to put Jameis Winston in, which I've seen that work as well at the Steelers, and it doesn't. As much as Dart has made a very positive reaction on the field to this beginning of his career in New York, that isn't the way to go about it either, I don't feel. However, I do think that is a debate that is split amongst a lot of NFL fans, whether you start them at the start and bring them in later on or let them sit for even longer, etc., etc. But I do agree with the both of you. What does this spark? Is Mike Kafka going to be what I've just said a moment ago, an NFL savant where, he's getting the best out of Jackson Dart right now? And yeah, he was doing really well with Malik Neighbors when he was playing, and with Cam Scatterboo, and scheming them to be successful. But the rest of their schedule, Packers, they're at the Lions, they're at the Patriots. They've got very late bye week. They host the Commanders, they host the Vikings, they are at the Raiders, they host the Cowboys. Well, that's 3 losses in a row for me. The Packers, the Lions, the Patriots. Okay, the Packers played awful last night, admittedly.
I was going to say, did you see us play last night? We can't score any points anywhere. What are you talking about?
But the Packers' defense is good enough to stop the Giants.
That'll be like 9-6.
But the problem is you can't get minus in NFL. That's the problem, you see, and so that's an issue for us at the moment.
But let's say they do beat the Packers and they get the wow factor bounce back. You're then at the Lions at the Patriots. You're losing them too. You are.
They're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
It's just
And then you have then the Commanders, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Cowboys. What, 1, 2 wins? I don't think they beat them. I think the Vikings could go down to the wire, but I think the Vikings defense can hold up the Giants. It's just I'm not sure about their offense in a minute. And then Cowboys, the way they're playing, I mean, that could be 54-45, or that could be any result anyone could ever think of. Like, you are never going to get a winning record firing him.
I just think that Adam sort of alluded to this before, but surely they've seen Ben Johnson come in and Caleb Williams and that happened, and Mike Vrabel come in and Drake May do this. So they obviously know there's something there with Jackson Dart. We can see that already. It only takes a small sample, I think, to know nowadays, because I know some people criticized Caleb last year. I wasn't one, but even with Drake May, we've all sat here and said that, you can see when there's potential in a quarterback. So maybe the Giants are just kind of like, we don't want him to damage Jackson Dart. Let's just see how the season unfolds.
But that is a fair point, because the thing is what was happening is he was being put in situations because the head coach was desperate to try and win a game. And this is the problem when you start buggering about with having head coaches that are on the hot seat before the season has even started. And it's like, and you've got a rookie there, and you think, okay, well, we'll start with the veteran. He's, hopefully he'll be all right. It all falls apart, and they go desperation, and you throw him in, and it's like, it's fine. You can't. I can't explain enough how most of the on-field problems come from off-field issues. They really do, and a lot of it is with some of these teams. I mean, I just bit of a side note, I've already started prepping some of the draft stuff and sort of like looking at some of the teams. And me and Andrew were, I was looking at the Titans. My God, what a train wreck of an organization. I mean, just stupid decision after stupid decision. And doing things like this is exactly the same thing. The idea of keeping Shane and not getting rid of Daboll, getting rid of Daboll but keeping Shane, it doesn't make any sense. You need a complete clear out, and then what you need to do is you need to go, these are the guys that we're behind. We think they can do it, and then actually give them time to develop your brand new quarterback and see what can happen from it.
Yeah.
The only
go on,
thing
sorry,
I would say is Bears and Pats did keep their GMs, Ryan Poles and Elliot Wolf.
And I do think Joe Schoen has drafted some good. Like, look at their defense. Their defense is good. Like, but it would take an idiot not to draft Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
At the time, Kayvon Thibodeau's played very well this year, and this has been his year to play well because I think he very much was on the chopping block. But that was a no-brainer pick. Malik Neighbors was a no-brainer pick. Like that, it's not hard to pick good players when they're that good. That's not that smart. I don't think that doesn't take no genius. It does take genius to get Cam Scatterby where you got him later down in the draft. That does take some. So I don't think Joe Schoen's like completely out and dumb, but there's got to be some equal amount of blame here. And a big thing that I think Andrew always says is, why would you get rid of the coach when he's finally got his quarterback? After how Jackson Dart has played so far, you're not telling me that 20 teams in this league wouldn't take Jackson Dart now at this point. There is going to be a lot of coaches out there who are going to go, I will go to New York because I like Jackson Dart. There is going to be a lot of them. So Daboll might have got his guy with Jackson Dart, but there is a lot of coaches I think out there that we probably don't know as of yet, but we'll look at Dart and go, I'll have a piece of that and we'll go somewhere with this team.
I suppose his point is very much like, you've taken all this time to actually give the head coach an opportunity with the GM to go and draft a quarterback. It's the first time they were able to do it, and they do it, and then you fire him like 10 games in. Like, what are you doing? It's I think that it's a fair point, sort of thing, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense that you think that that's going to work, and just the constant chopping and changing, it just doesn't work. That's the problem, and that's where it's an issue. And I will be stunned if we're not here talking in 6 months, 8 months time, and Brian Daboll will have a job as an OC somewhere, because he's shown that he is decent and that he is capable. It's just not worked at the moment at the Giants. So I'll be surprised if he doesn't get another gig.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded coach. Obviously, he's on the Pat staff as well in the early 2000s. He had 1 year as a DC tight ends coach, assistant coach. Like, he's, well done in the league. I just think, like, I don't know. Obviously, and it's a shame again, like Fred said, Andrew's not here. The press conferences I see of Daboll, like, he's very like one of those sort of old school coaches who doesn't give you much, which is again something that doesn't help you in New York. And when I was mentioning about Drake May and Caleb Williams, like Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, they very much put your arm around your quarterback. We've seen the things with Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and I think naturally that's just how sport is now. We see it in football all the time. People like Mourinho, like, it doesn't work anymore because that style of man management is gone. So I think when you have a young quarterback now, it's like you've got to bring a coach in who can nurture that. So Kafka could be the guy. He's played the position. As you've both said, he's been on the radar. Like, maybe that's who you get to come in and nurture him, and then sort of he gets to choose his own coordinators and then see what happens.
Well, if you ask the opinion of one of our Eagles compatriots on this podcast, Gareth, he'd say we desperately need an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. So you never know, it might be the second time that someone from New York has gone down to Philadelphia in the space of 2 seasons. We should just have to wait and see on that.